This is the story of a simple boy who journeys towards becoming a king through his courage and honesty, facing dangerous obstacles like boiling hot water and sea whale-like creatures. But he had a loyal friend who risked his life to help him at every step. Will he be able to overcome all these hurdles and win the princess's heart? We will see that in today's thrilling story. So let's begin. At the beginning of the story, we see a bright light running across a farmer's field in the darkness of night. It looked as if lightning had struck from the sky very quickly. The next morning, we see the farmer, whose field it is, calling his sons and showing them the field, saying, "Look, someone has destroyed all our wheat at night." Hearing this, his two older sons say, "Perhaps it's the work of a devil." But the farmer is very angry about the damage to his field and assigns his younger son, John, to guard it at night. In reality, these people consider John foolish and simple-minded. But they don't know that one day, this fool will wear the king's crown. At night, while John was guarding the field, he heard the sound of a horse, which made him look around, and when he turned back, he saw a huge white horse standing behind him, which frightened him. But still, he set a rope trap to catch it, which caused the horse to get caught and start running. As a result, John and the horse were lifted into the air. Later, when the horse came down, John fell to the ground, and the horse got stuck in a swamp. Seeing the horse's helpless look, John pulled it out, but the horse was still very sad because John had tied it with a rope. When John saw the horse crying, he felt very sorry for it, so he freed it. Because he was a very simple and kind person. Freed, the magical horse became very happy and disappeared in an instant. The next morning, when John woke up, he saw two very beautiful horses standing in the stable. Also, there was another small foal named Foal, who was the magical horse's offspring and could talk to humans. Foal told him, "My mother sent these horses as a gift for you because she is very pleased with you." John was very happy to see this. Meanwhile, John's father was coming towards him, angry about the damaged field. Seeing this, John got scared because the field was damaged, despite him being there last night. Then, Foal put him on his back and took him far away at lightning speed. John was completely stunned by this. Then John said to Foal, "Those two horses are still in the stable." Then Foal made a loud sound with his mouth, which caused the horses to come directly to them from the stable. After this, John took the horses to the city market because he decided to sell these two horses and give the money to his father. When John reached the market with the horses, all the people in the market were amazed to see these two horses because they had never seen such beautiful horses before. Everyone in the market wanted to buy these horses. Then Foal said, "Sell these horses to the man in front of the hut." But John said, "I will sell these horses to the king here, and I will get a high price." Then he took the horses to the king. But there the king said to his minister, "I don't think these beautiful horses belong to him." Hearing this, the minister said, "Surely he has stolen these horses from somewhere." After this, the king took the two horses from John and sent him away without paying him. Because of this, John became disappointed, and seeing him disappointed, Foal made another loud sound with his mouth. Hearing the sound, the horses left the king's carriage and ran back to John. Meanwhile, due to the horses running, the king's carriage lost control and fell directly onto bags of flour. As a result, the king became completely white, like a ghost. The king was very embarrassed. However, John was not at fault, so he could not say anything to John in front of the people. Now the king wants to pay John for the horses, but also wants to take revenge for his humiliation. So, on the minister's advice, the king asks John to stay with him to take care of the horses, and John agrees. In the next scene, we see that due to John's good nature and hard work, everyone in the kingdom starts to like him, but the king becomes envious of this and wants to get rid of John by any means. Then, one of the king's ministers says, "We must give him a task that he can never complete. If he fails to complete the task, we will sentence him to death. And that task is to catch the firebird, which is impossible to catch, because whoever has gone to catch it has never returned alive." So the king orders John to do this task, and he agrees. Now when John tells Foal about this, Foal says, "This is impossible, you shouldn't have taken this task, this journey can be fatal for you." But John has already said yes to do this task, so Foal agrees, and takes John on his back to a forest at lightning speed. There, Foal takes him to a tree, which is actually the Dream Nuts tree. Here Foal says, these nuts are Firebird's favorite, because after eating them, it goes into a deep sleep. So John picks some nuts from there, and keeps them with him. After that, they reach the place where the Firebird lives. But the Firebird is not visible there, because it lives underground. Foal tells John to throw the nuts there, and John throws the nuts there. Smelling the nuts, the Firebird slowly comes up from the ground and starts eating the nuts one by one, and after a while, it falls unconscious there. But in the next moment, it regains consciousness, which makes John run away in fear, and the Firebird also starts chasing him. But then Foal comes in between. Because of this, the Firebird now chases Foal. Then, John throws the last dream nut he had in front of the Firebird, and after eating it, the Firebird falls unconscious into the water again. The next morning, when the Firebird regains consciousness, it sees that a man has chained it. Because of this, it starts crying. Seeing this, John also becomes sad. So, he decides to free the Firebird, and as soon as he opens the chain and frees the Firebird, it starts flying away, and while leaving, the Firebird happily leaves a bright feather for John. Receiving this, John is happy and returns to the kingdom with Fole, but the king's soldiers arrest him and take him in front of everyone, because he failed to catch the Firebird, so he will be killed now. But John shows the king and the people of the kingdom the Firebird's feather and says, "I caught it," and finally let it go. But the king does not believe his words because the Firebird's feather was not glowing at that moment. Then the king says, "You are sentenced to death for disobeying my order." Just as the executioner is about to cut off his head, the Firebird appears there, and the feather also starts glowing, and the whole kingdom is illuminated by the Firebird's light. Seeing this, everyone believes that John's words were true, and that he did it. So, the king cannot punish him now, because the people have placed their trust in him. So, unwillingly, the king honors John by dressing him in royal clothes and a turban in front of the people, and pretends to be impressed by John in front of everyone. But inside, the king starts to hate him even more, and he wants to kill John at any cost. He asks his ministers for advice on how to get rid of John. Then one minister says, "We will send John to bring a princess for you, and that princess lives far away on the top of an ice mountain, and this time you will benefit, because if he brings the princess, you can marry her, and if he fails to bring her, you can execute him." The king likes the minister's advice very much, so without delay, he announces this throughout the kingdom and sends John to bring the princess quickly. After this, John and Fole set off towards that place, and due to Fole's fast speed, they soon reached there. But before entering the fort, there was a very thick layer of ice, which makes John worried because it is impossible for him to break it. But then the Firebird's feather comes there and goes inside the door, which causes all the ice to melt and a lot of water starts flowing there, which causes Fole to be swept away with the water and fall far below the mountain. John goes inside the fort alone, where he sees many girls sleeping, but he cannot understand who the real princess is among them. Then the Firebird's feather goes to a girl and wakes her up, and then John realizes that she is the real princess. After this, he tells the princess, "Our king wishes to marry you, and he has sent me to bring you." But the princess says, "If your king were so brave, he would have come to get me himself." And she refuses to go with John, because she feels that there are no brave men left in the world whom she could marry. Saying this, she jumps off the mountain peak, which makes John jump to save the princess without thinking. But the princess could fly in the air with the help of her special dress. However, when she saw John falling quickly, she took him with her. But due to John's mistake, the princess's dress tore, and they both started falling rapidly. Just then, Fole saved them from hitting the ground with his magical wings. But the princess fainted from fear. Fole says, "I could have saved you earlier, but perhaps my magical wings were waiting for this moment," after which they safely landed on the ground. Now when they stop in a forest at night, Fole tells John, "You have fallen in love with the princess. We shouldn't go back to the king now, but rather, we should take the princess and go somewhere else." But John doesn't listen to Fole, and the next morning, John and Fole return to the kingdom with the princess, where the king gets very angry seeing John bring the princess, because John has proven him wrong again. But the minister convinces the king that he doesn't need to be angry, as it will benefit him, because now he can marry the princess. Meanwhile, the people are very happy to see John bring the princess, which makes the king honor John with a lot of gold and clothes. But John is still very sad, because despite loving the princess, he has to hand her over to the king. Then at night, we see John secretly going to meet the princess and giving her a bouquet of flowers, which makes her very happy, because the princess also likes John. But then, due to the king's men arriving, John has to leave. After this, the king's men dress the princess in new clothes and take her in front of the king. After talking for a long time, when the king asks the princess to marry him, she says, "I cannot marry until my grandmother's lost ring is found, and I lost that ring somewhere in the sea." Hearing this, the king gets worried, and then John arrives there, which makes the king happy, and he says, "You have come at the right time. I have another order for you. You will find the princess's ring from the sea." John agrees to this. Then we see Fole getting worried, because now he has to help John find the ring, and this time he himself doesn't know where the ring is. So Fole asks his mother for help, and Fole's mother uses magic in the sky to tell him that the ring is inside the belly of a giant whale, which has now become an island in the sea, and she also tells him the way to reach there. The next morning, Fole and John start looking for the whale following that route. While they were flying, John suddenly lost control and fell into the sea. He is unharmed there, but he sees a giant whale tied with thick chains at the bottom, which has turned it into a small island. Seeing this, John realizes that this is the whale they are looking for. After this, they climb onto the whale and ask the whale why it is imprisoned here. Then the whale says that it had mistakenly swallowed some ships, which is why it has been chained, but now it wants to correct its mistake. Hearing this, John starts thinking about how they will free it. Then an idea comes to his mind. If they can somehow make the whale sneeze, then the shaking will break all the chains and it will be freed. Then John and Foley go inside the whale's nose and both start tickling its nose, which makes the whale sneeze loudly. And one by one, all the chains are broken. Along with that, the ships it had swallowed also come out. Meanwhile, John and Foley also land on the shore with the sneeze, from where they see the whale being freed and happily going deep into the sea. But then John remembers that he forgot to ask the whale for the ring, which makes him very sad. But just then, a crab comes there and gives John the ring, saying the whale understood your heart's desire. John is very happy to get the ring. Then he returns with Foley, but upon returning, he secretly goes to meet the princess and gives her her grandmother's ring, proposing marriage. Seeing the ring, the princess realizes that John is a brave man and happily agrees to marry him. On the other hand, the king's minister sees John with the princess and brings soldiers to capture him. A fight breaks out between John and the soldiers. Meanwhile, the king wakes up from the noise and shoots Foley, who is near the princess's window. Afterwards, John is arrested for secretly meeting the princess. At night, a baby bird comes to the princess's room and takes her to the stable. Actually, Foal sent this bird. Then, the princess tells Foley that she wants to get rid of the king at any cost. So, she lured the king with the promise of youth and convinced him to go through 3 pools. But then, the king's minister arrives and advises the king to send John through the 3 pools first. So tomorrow at noon, John will be thrown into 3 large pools in front of all the subjects. The first pool will contain boiling hot water, the second will contain blood-freezing cold water, and the third will contain boiling milk. And if we want to save John, we have to throw my grandmother's ring into the hot water pool, the firebird's feather into the cold water pool, and the life-giving flower into the milk pool, which is found at the end of the world. Hearing the princess's words, Foal says, "We have the ring and the firebird's feather, but I don't think I can bring the life-giving flower from the end of the world by tomorrow noon because I am already injured." But the princess encourages Foley, saying, "You can do it, and you have to do it to save your friend." Then the princess leaves, and immediately Foal sets off at lightning speed to bring the life-giving flower. The next morning, we see the king preparing 3 large pools in front of all the subjects. Then John is brought out of the prison and thrown into the boiling hot water pool. But then, the princess cleverly throws the ring into the pool, which saves John's life. Then, when he flies and falls into the cold water pool, the firebird throws its feather into the cold water pool, which saves John's life again. After that, he flies and falls into the boiling milk pool. Meanwhile, we see Foal, who has somehow reached the life-giving flower with his speed, where the flower tells him, "If you pluck me, you will die." But Foley plucks the flower without caring for his life. On the other hand, a lot of time has passed since John fell into the milk pool, and he has not come up yet, which makes everyone think that John is dead, so everyone starts leaving sadly. But then, Foal flies above and throws the life-giving flower into the pool, and as soon as the flower falls into the pool, a bright light starts coming out, and John comes out of the pool like a prince, which makes everyone very happy. Now seeing John transformed into a prince, the king jumps into the hot water pool without delay. Everyone's attention was on the king, but in the next moment, he gets trapped in a big bubble and comes out, and shouting, he flies away, with the bubble far away. This makes the people of the kingdom very happy, because no one liked the king. After this, everyone decides to make John their new king, because they understood that John is a truthful and honest man, and both John and the princess are very happy with this decision. Meanwhile, Foley thinks that he is going to die, which makes him very worried, but the princess tells him that nothing will happen to him. The flower's words were a test of your heart, in which you succeeded. But if you had left without plucking the flower, you would have definitely died. Finally, we see John and the princess getting married, and everyone in the kingdom dances in joy, and the story ends with this happiness. So friends, I hope you liked this story. See you with another fun story. Until then, take care, bye.